When you marry someone, you expect to share your life, your love, your time, your plans, your struggles. But what happens when the person you thought you knew better than anyone becomes a stranger sitting across from you? I met Hannah at a volunteer event. We were both helping organize books for a literacy drive. She was sharp, quick-witted, had this dry sense of humor that caught you off guard. We clicked fast. From the start, she felt like home. We dated for about 4 years before we got married. It felt right. We were both in our early 30s, had stable jobs, talked about having kids one day, even picked out names. We agreed on most big things: politics, finances, family values. Or so I thought. The first 2 years of marriage were solid. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling. We kept a budget. We each had a personal spending account and one shared account for bills and savings. That system worked well. Until it didn't. It started with little things. A random Amazon box I didn't remember her mentioning, a new purse, a necklace, a weekend trip she said was all covered by points. At first, I didn't think much of it. She worked in freelance marketing. Sometimes she landed extra clients, sometimes not. Her income fluctuated. I figured she just had a good month. But it kept happening. One night, I saw a notification pop up on her phone while she was in the shower. Payment due, secure loan services. I'd never heard of that company before. Something in me just froze. When she came out, I casually asked, "Hey, what's secure loan services?" She barely blinked. "Oh, it's nothing. Just a small personal loan I took out last year for some dental stuff." That didn't sit right. First, we'd never discussed any loan. Second, I knew we had money set aside for medical expenses. Why borrow? I started digging. I didn't want to. I genuinely didn't. But my gut wouldn't let it go. One afternoon, when she said she was going to run errands, I checked the filing cabinet in her office. Nothing. Then I checked her email on the shared laptop. That's when it unraveled. 4 open credit lines, 2 personal loans, a store card, all opened within the last 18 months. I did the math. Over $50,000, all of it behind my back. I just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. I remember reading one email from a debt consolidation company. It mentioned missed payments, legal action, credit impact. She was drowning, and she never said a word. That night, I waited until after dinner. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I asked her to sit down and told her what I'd found. She didn't deny anything. She just stared at the table for a long time and whispered, "I didn't know how to tell you." Her explanation, it started small. A late payment here, a medical bill there, then a slow season at work. She didn't want me to think she was failing, so she used credit to bridge the gap. But the gap got wider, interest piled up. She started moving money from one card to another, then borrowed more to pay it off. A cycle. Once she couldn't stop. She said she planned to fix it all before I noticed, that she thought she was protecting me. Protecting me. Let that sink in. She was burying our future in debt and said she was doing it for me. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I didn't have the energy. I just felt gutted. She offered to hand over all financial control, to go to therapy, to cut up the cards. She begged me not to leave. And I didn't. Not right away. We tried counseling, both individual and couples. I wanted to believe she could change, that we could rebuild. But something inside me had cracked. I started waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, thinking about credit scores and lawsuits. I couldn't trust her judgment. I couldn't trust her with decisions, with money, with the truth. Every time she said, "It's fine," I felt panic instead of comfort. One day, about 6 months after the confrontation, I checked our shared savings account. $2,400 missing. She said it was for a consolidation program she found online. She didn't ask, didn't mention it, just took the money and hoped it would work. That was the final straw. I moved out the next week, filed for divorce a month later. She was devastated. She told me she thought I was being cold, unforgiving, that she made a mistake, not a crime. But here's the thing. Trust isn't broken in one big moment. It's chipped away, slowly, silently. And by the time you realize it's gone, the damage is already done. The divorce was smooth legally. No kids, separate credit histories. I protected myself. Emotionally, though, I was a mess. I couldn't even look at a shared calendar without flinching. I started second-guessing every woman I dated, wondering if there were lies waiting just beneath the surface. I went through a long period of numbness. I didn't talk about it for a while, not to friends, not even in therapy. I felt embarrassed, foolish. I was the responsible one, the guy who paid bills on time, who checked his budget weekly, and I still got blindsided. Eventually, I started writing about it, just for myself. Pages and pages of feelings, confusion, anger. That helped. I learned that shame festers in silence. The more I talked about it, really talked about it, the more it lost its power. Now, nearly 3 years later, I'm finally able to see it for what it was. Not just a financial betrayal, but an emotional one. A refusal to share the weight of life. A decision to pretend instead of partner. I'm dating someone new now. She knows the whole story. She asks hard questions, she listens, she tells me the truth even when it's messy. And that's more valuable than anything else. If you're in a relationship and feel like something's off, trust that feeling. Ask the questions, open the books, look at the credit reports. Not because you're paranoid, but because partnership demands honesty. And if you've made mistakes like Hannah did, tell the truth early. Don't let fear drive you deeper into deception. No amount of damage control can fix what silence destroys. Because once someone feels betrayed, they don't just lose faith in you, they lose faith in their own judgment. And that's the hardest thing to get back.